Good morning. My name is Camille Youngberg, and I'm going to be talking today about the MK Ultra program. The human mind. We know that the human mind is an amazing muscle which is capable of doing amazing things. There have been studies throughout the millennia on how the human brain works, and in fact, there are studies and attempts at full-on mind control as a military war tactic. We've all seen in mass media such as the new series Stranger Things, where a boy and his friends stumble upon a young girl who is being torturously experimented on by the government. True Blood, where a young woman befriends vampires who are later experimented on in secret labs run by the government. Zoolander, who is a lovable supermodel with smoldering looks that make him the perfect assassin to get close to the Malaysian Prime Minister. Or even the powerful film Lucy, where a young woman ingests a new drug that enables her to use the full capacity of her brain. Needless to say, she was capable of incredible feats, displaying the potential of our human brain. The MK Ultra program is a government-funded program that's only goal was to control the human mind. To do whatever it was told and not remember what it was told to do afterwards. They would call this a behavioral modification. Keep in mind that the things I'm about to talk with you about really did happen. This isn't a conspiracy. These things actually took place. In the 50s and 60s and during the Cold War, the CIA took interest in controlling the human mind in the hopes of creating a super soldier and protecting America's secrets in the event of a capture. This program was to ensure that the Americans would accomplish this before the Russians or the Koreans. Imagine what sort of weapon the human brain can make. Imagine having the power to control another human being. Pretty sinister, isn't it? Well, that, my friends, was the goal of the United States government-funded MK Ultra program. The CIA hired Sidney Gottlieb to head the MK Ultra program. Sidney Gottlieb was born on August 3rd, 1918 in New York, New York. Sidney is a Leo who are described to be passionate and ambitious about their goals. Sidney was that indeed. In the article, Poisoner-in-Chief, Sidney Gottlieb and the CIA Search for Mind Control by Stephen Aftergood, Sid is referred to as ruthlessly committed. So deeply committed, Sidney wanted to serve his country, but was physically challenged by a clubfoot. He received his PhD in 1940 and was later hired by the CIA as a poison expert, ultimately to head up the MK Ultra program. Sidney's commitment would lead him to Dr. Frank Olson. Frank Olson was born in July 17th, on July 17th in 1910 in Hurley, Wisconsin. Frank is a Cancer, whom are also described as committed to excellence and achievement. Frank was hired by Sidney and the CIA in 1953. Dr. Olson was also sincere in his fervor to assist the CIA and serve his country, as well to gain mind control tactics. Dr. Olson became suspicious and began to question some of Sidney's methods in the experiments and procedures. The Poisoner-in-Chief article discusses medical, psychological, and physical abuse, which can be called barbaric. According to the article, Traces of Mind Control from Cold War America, the authors refer to these brainwashing tactics as tortures. Rebecca Lomo discusses a sleep room in her article, Brainwashing's Avatar, the Curious Career of Dr. Ewan Cameron. Not as cozy as it sounds, these sleep rooms were for drug-induced comas and barbaric torture and electric shock therapies, just to name a few. Many of these tests included drugging the unaware and other brutal and inhumane torture treatments, even murder. Sydney had a men's retreat for Dr. Olson and the CIA scientists and workers. There he served drinks laced with LSD to his unwitting guests. Later, Dr. Olson would be scheduled and taken to by his CIA cohorts to check into a mental hospital. Unfortunately, he did not make it. It was recorded that Dr. Olson had committed suicide by throwing himself out of his hotel window. Although his wounds did not indicate that of suicide by jumping out a window, Dr. Olson's family even asked for a second autopsy, stating that the head trauma was not consistent with a jump out of the window. Also going as far to the United States Supreme Court and winning their case, being awarded later a lump sum of money paid by the federal government and a formal apology, which they never received. The MKUltra program was administered across the United States hospitals, institutions, and universities. These experiments were mostly done without the patient's knowledge or permission. Many of these university experiments also reached some of the most influential minds of the hippie and beat movement of the 60s. The whole Enlightenment era. Some of these institutional test subjects included Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1962. This film, which stars Jack Nicholson, details Ken's experience as a patient of the drug experiments at the Veterans Hospital under the watchful eye of Nurse Ratched. In Barbara Tepe-Lupak's article on Ken in the St. James Encyclopedia of Popular Culture, in Volume 3, in 1964, sometimes a great notion is considered a masterpiece. Not every patient's experience ended this way. Many experiences ended with MKUltra at the hands of Sidney Gottlieb and his army of evil geniuses. Recall that this is a story of drug-induced comas, secret sex studies, sleep rooms, torture, and murder. In the late 1960s, the CIA Inspector General, John K. Vance, uncovered inhumane and unethical experiments being administered on unwitting individuals, as reported by Joe Hawley in the Washington Post. Inspector General Vance's report states the concept involved in manipulating human behavior are found by many people both in and outside the agency to be distasteful and unethical. It was his report that prompted the shutdown of the MKUltra program. It would be over 5 years later, in 1977, the American public was made privy to what our government was doing in the name of security. In the end, the MKUltra program accomplished nothing. There is no drug that can control one human's mind. Although over time, bet on the fact that these experiments are still being conducted just in a more concealed fashion, despite Inspector General Vance's and the United States Supreme Court's best efforts. Despite all the minds involved in the MKUltra program, the human mind has proven all too many times much too powerful to be controlled. Thank you.